to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, whom will and teach well, who taught us his truth. This is your brother Yashimai from the GMS Atlantic Camp, coming at you with the video going into Revelation 12 and 10. And the reason for this video is because I really wanted to hone in on this scripture. I know we quote it a lot, and there's a lot of meat in this, hence the several commas here. And I've done I think I've done a couple overviews as has been taught to us by our elders and apostles of GMS going into Revelation 12. But brothers, I'm sure, are familiar that when you're doing those overview videos, you're trying to get to the point. But this scripture here, I want to go back to because there's a lot of meat in it, and so hopefully this is edifying. Let's go ahead and get it. It says Revelation 12 and 10. It says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Hamashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night." So there's a lot of things going on here, So obviously here, it's talking about now has come salvation. Well, let's get the context. The context in Revelation 12, it talks about the war in heaven. It talks about Michael and his angels making war against the beast and his angels, which we understand that this isn't talking about a spiritual war that's taking place in the heavens, but it's talking about the angels of this beast system fighting against the angels of Yahweh Shai. And I'm not going to get too much into it, but for those that are coming into the truth, you would want to go into Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. You would want to look at Joel 2, really the whole book of Joel, and Isaiah, the 63rd chapter. But so that's the context, okay? So now let's go ahead and let's try to get the meat off this bone here. So the first part here says, "Now has come salvation," and what I want to do from there is I want to get the blue letter on that word salvation, and that word is soteria, and that word is a deliverance. And of course, this is the Israelites, starting with the elect, the 144,000 being saved from this beast system. The scriptures talks about us overcoming by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So it talks about the deliverance, yes, but I want to focus in on the second aspect of this specific part in the scripture, because another definition here is preservation. See, the context here is the war in heaven. So this is prior to the ICBMs coming to destroy America. So that would lead us to believe that this is taking place during Jacob's trouble. Okay? And I've got that pulled up here. This is Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Talks about, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." And, Jacob's trouble is coming. I mean, we are at the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. And that salvation being spoken upon on Revelation 12 and 10 is going to require perseverance. Okay, because Jacob's trouble, which we can link that up. We'll go ahead and get that. Daniel 12 and 2, I believe. If not, it's 1. Yeah, it's 1. It's just a second part of one. It says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up." Now, Michael here is Yahweh Shai, okay? Because the scripture says that a standard is going to be raised up for Jacob. It says, "The great prince which stands for the children of thy people." So again, the deliverance is only for the people. Who is the people? Well, we don't even. I mean, yeah, I guess I could get it, but well, no. I'll just quote it in Matthew 1. It talks about Matthew 1 or 2. It talks about Yahushua being brought up to bring salvation to his people. Okay, so only the Israelites are being saved here. It says, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time and at that time that people shall be delivered. Now, who is his people? Again, because let's not forget, the scripture also says, not all Israel is Israel, right? So Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is only dealing with his elect men. It says, and at that time my people shall be delivered. This is his elect. Every one that shall be found written in the book. So Jeremiah 30 and 7 goes hand in hand with Daniel 12. Okay, but furthermore it says, but Jacob, for Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So again, I'm bringing these scriptures up to show that salvation not only goes into the deliverance from the war, but salvation, while all this is going on, we still need to be preserved, man. Let's go ahead and get that word, preserve, if I can spell it right. Preserve? What's that word, man? Preservation, Shalagia. Preservation. Let's see what that says. The act of preserving something. To save, right there. To keep. Okay? So his elect are going to be saved, and the scriptures talk about this here. This is Deuteronomy 28:56 through 57. Just to give us an idea of what's to come, why we will need that perseverance in the time of trouble. This is in the NLT. It says, the most tender and delicate woman among you, so delicate she would not so much as touch the ground with her foot, would be selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. Think about that. Think about that. Think about people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, man. Like, we all have that one specific person that comes to mind that's just a nice person, keeps to themselves, can't do good, can't do bad. Think about them. It says, she will hide from them the afterbirth and the new baby she has born, so that she herself can secretly eat them. She will have nothing else to eat during the siege, and a terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns, man. So this is Jacob's trouble. This is what's coming to us, man. And all of this, again, is mentioned in Revelation 12 and 10, just in the very first comma here. These scriptures are, there's a lot of meat in these scriptures, and so there are some scriptures, like in my humble opinion, like this one, that they deserve their own video, okay? Because there's a lot to get here, okay? So we've already established that salvation is going to show, is going to need to show up because it deals with our perseverance, us being kept, until the time comes when we hear that voice come up hither, okay? Yahweh Ratazah, or Lord willing, we be of that 144,000. These are the difficult times, man. But let's not forget that the scripture says, but Jacob shall be saved from it, his elect. It says Isaiah 59 verse 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai from the west. Okay, and again, it says the name. Okay, so for any of the camps saying that they don't have the name, man, you're not going to be saved because you don't fear the name. It says, in his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua shall lift up a standard against them. And that goes into the perseverance. And that standard goes into a hiding and a taking up. Okay? So, again, the first part here in salvation, yes, goes into us being saved from this beast system and the devil, but it also goes into our perseverance. The next part that I want to get here is it says, and strength. Now, I want to get that in the word. Oh, Salakia. I want to get that in the blue letter, because strength goes into the word dynamis. Dunamis. All right? And what is that definition? Inherent power. Power residing in a thing by virtue of its nature. What does that mean? It means that when you see something so massive and so great, that you can just tell that it is inherently powerful. Like, for example, if you go to the gym and you see a big old dude with a big old chest, you know that, hey, that dude's huge. He can, he's packing power, okay? That's how Yahweh Shai is showing up, okay? So So when this war in heaven is going on, it's talking about dunamis power. And I want to go from here. I want to bring up, matter of fact, what is that? Matthew 24:30, just to prove the point. Check this out. That word dunamis is also is the same word used here in Matthew 24:30. It says, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." And now let's get that word power, and we will see that it is the same power. It's the same word, dunamis, okay? Because when Yahushua comes back, he's coming back in a fathership, man. And all the scriptures point to this, okay? This is Isaiah 31:5. It says, as birds flying, so will Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, of hosts, defend Jerusalem. Okay? And here, it's talking about the people. Let's not forget that Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. Defending also, he will deliver it. Okay? And passing over, he will preserve it. There goes that word preserve again. All right? And furthermore, we got Wisdom of Solomon 5:2. It says, when they see it, matter of fact, let's go and start at verse 1. It says, then shall the righteous man stand. And the Hebrew word for righteous is Yasharan. Okay, then shall Yasharan, the elect, the Israelites, stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no accounts of his labors. Okay, when they see it, because the whole world is going to see the elect being beamed up, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. And of course, they're also going to be troubled with terrible fear. Why? Because of that word we got, dunamis, because Yahweh Shai has shown up with the fathership and his chariots to beam up the elect. Okay, there goes that inherent power. That's why they are trembling with fear, because of that dunamis power. Do you see how these words in the Greek and the Hebrew bring the scripture so much more to life here? It says, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for, right? Because, our salvation out of here, the only way is up, man. And that way up is through the chariots, man. See, the scriptures talk about, the clouds of heaven. There are no clouds in heaven, man. There are no clouds in space, man. These are dark sayings, as Proverbs, the first chapter, talks about, man. But these dark sayings have been revealed to his servants, the prophets, according to Amos 3:7, man. All right? So, let's see here. Further, let's see here. Power. It says the power and influence, moral power, power consisting or resting on. Let me see in here. Power, ability, moral power, power consisting or resting upon the armies, forces, host. I think there was another definition here. Miraculous power, ability, power, strength, violence, mighty, wonderful work. All right, so when Yahushua shows up, man, and they see that power, the scriptures talk about every knee shall bow. Okay, and this is going to be something that is going to be done by force, because the scriptures go into those that don't abide by the statutes that flow from Israel, are going to be taken out, man. But furthermore, the people are going to bow down when they see that dunamis power, man. And then comes the kingdom, because with power comes authority, right? Doesn't the scriptures talk about that kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven? Well, what's the kingdom looking like in heaven? The kingdom in heaven is complete authority. And, some might say, well, yeah, it's complete authority in heaven because, the angels are up there. Yes, that's true. But that kingdom is coming here down to earth, man. And so, these other heathens are going to have to get it, man. All right? And we see a perfect example of what the kingdom looks like in the Old Testament. This is 2 Samuel 8:14. It says, this is David. After Saul has died, he's been set king, and he begins to take out his enemies. It says, and he put garrisons in Edom, throughout all Edom, put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants. Okay, this is power, this is servitude. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, there it goes again, preserved David whithersoever he went. That's the spirit, man. That's a third or fourth time that word has come up, preserved. Because the elect shall be saved for what? So that they can take a part in the kingdom here. So that they can take a part in high positions of power, man. Okay? Doesn't the scripture say to strive for the mastery? You know, I bring that up because we're not, we don't want to be the kind of Israelites that, well, I'm an Israelite, I'm gonna be saved. Like, no, man. If you're an Israelite, strive for the mastery. Put on as the elect. I mean, yes, we know that ultimately, it's gonna be according to the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai if you are of that 144,000. But the scripture says, put on as the elect, man. All right. So this is what we're striving for. We are striving to be a part of that high elite. Just as there is a 1% in this wicked place, there's also going to be a 1% in the kingdom, and that 1%, it's going into the 144,000. See here, I got oh yeah, Shalakia. I'm jumping the gun here. Let's go back here to Revelation 12 and 10. It says, and the kingdom of our God, right? Okay, kingdom, which we already went over, what the kingdom looks like, 2 Samuel 8, right? And the power of his Mashiach says, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down. I want to go back and get that word cast down because it's gonna take us. 12. Sorry, there goes my dyslexia. I want to go into that word cast down because it's going to take us to Isaiah 47. But I want you guys to see it here. It says cast down right here. It says in the Greek is katabalo, to cast down, to throw to the ground, to prostrate. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Edom, this beast system, the world, first and foremost, Edom is going to be cast down to the ground. From there, we'll go to Isaiah 47 because it lines up perfectly. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Doesn't that line up beautifully? To throw to the ground, Babylon. This, this is how our elders and apostles teach us to read our scriptures, man. Precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. It says, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. That's being prostrated. There is no throne, O daughter of that Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, man. So America, spiritually known as Babylon, spiritually known as Sodom, spiritually known as Egypt, is being cast down. And this is America finally getting its judgment for all the pain and injuries, as the scriptures talk about, that has been inflicted on the Israelites. And, first and foremost, the Israelites, but also even, these other heathens want a piece of this bastard. Even, the book of Obadiah, the men of thy confederacy want a piece of him, man. Revelation 17 and 16 goes into the 10 horns hating the whore. Everybody wants this bastard to go, man. His time is up. It says, Isaiah 14 and 6, it says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hinders. Okay, so that's the accuser being cast down. Okay, let's go back here. It says, for the accuser of our brethren, the Israelites, is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And this is the last part that I wanted to get. The accuser, we'll go ahead and get that word here. The accuser in the Greek is kategoros. All right, and what does that word bring to mind? To categorize, man. Okay, let's get that word categorize here. What's the definition? Say categorize. to place in a particular class or group, man. And that's what this devil has done. That's what the so-called, the self-proclaimed white man has done to our people. He has categorized us and renamed us. The scriptures in Job 9, the 24th verse talks about him covering the faces of the judges. And yes, uh, 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 that goes into, covering the face of Yahweh, but it also goes into covering the faces of the Israelites, because when you go into Genesis 1 verse 1, doesn't the blue letter talk about the Alachayim, right? Creating the world. And what's the definition for that? Divine rulers and judges, the elect, man. So so in the same manner that, we're not upset that he's covered our faces primarily, because we understand that that's our punishment, but we're upset because he's covered up the face of Yahweh, but that also includes us in it. He's categorized us into a particular class or group, okay, which we understand, this is all prophecy, according to Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, talks about us, becoming that byword, right? And even the book of Lamentations goes into it. This is Lamentations 2 and 1. It says, how has the Most High covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger? Because let's not forget that the scriptures, as upset as we get at this devil, and rightfully so, the scripture calls the wicked his sword. Isaiah 10 and 5, calls the Assyrian the rod of his anger. So ultimately, this is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai doing this. Proverbs 21 verse 1, says he puts the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. He turneth it whithersoever he wants. And that heart, goes into La'ab, goes into his mind. So this is all Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is doing. Even furthermore, Ezekiel the 38th chapter talks about, visiting Gog and putting an evil thought in his head. These are scriptures that we bring out to show that there's no free will, and to show that ultimately our punishment is the doing of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So it says so when it talks about Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai covering the daughter of Zion with a cloud, that's Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai allowing Esau, Edom, to cover the faces of the judges. That's him allowing Esau to categorize us, to cover us in a cloud in his anger, and to cast us down from heaven unto the earth, the beauty of Israel, and remember not his footstool in the day of his anger, man. And that's exactly what we've done. We've become that byword. He's given us fake names. He's called us, black, Mexicans, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, which means rich port. I mean, what kind of name is that? Are you a rich port? That that doesn't even make sense, man. But again, all is scriptural, man. The scripture said that we would be that byword. It says a person. This is the definition for byword. It says a person or thing cited as notorious and an outstanding example or embodiment of something. And so what have we been what has this devil categorized us to be the outstanding example of? He's categorized us to be the embodiment of crime. Who do you see? Let's check this out. Murderer sent to jail. Let's see whose face pops up. That's great. Look at this. This is him, kid. I just typed it in, man. Murderer sent to jail. Who's the first people that come up, man? So-called so-called black man. This is what he does every day. Convicted murderer, mistakenly. But check this out, man. Ain't this nuts? Let's go to bank robber here. Bank robber. Sentence. This actually might be an Edomite. Who knows, man? No, you go right here. You got an Israelite man here, man. Hold on. Let's see his face. Right here. Oh, hell no, man. Again, this is the accuser of the brother, and this is what he does. Every time you turn on your your news channel at night, he always shows you, uh, uh, a bad Israelite. And that's not to say that this guy's innocent. That's not what we're saying. But but he's categorized us. He's been the tool that has been used to cover the daughter of Zion in that cloud, man. And for that, there's a judgment to come for this, man. Matter of fact, I think I want to close off Revelation 13 and 6. I think that's what it is. It says, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Okay, so that's exactly what this beast has done, man. He's opened up and he's blasphemed against the Most High, by changing his image, and to blaspheme his name. That's self-explanatory, and his tabernacle. And who is the tabernacle of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? 1 Corinthians 3:16 tells us that we are the temple of the Most High. 1 Corinthians 3:9 tells us the same thing. 2 Peter, what is that? 2 Peter 2:16, 5:16, talks about us being lively stones. So, for this, there's a judgment coming, man. But that's pretty much it. Just wanted to go ahead and try to get the meat off this. Try to get all the meat off this bone. I'm sure there's probably another 100 scriptures that can be quoted, but whenever I just was reading, and I've been wanting to do this for a couple days now, just because there's so many comments here. There's so much stuff going on: salvation, perseverance, strength. Him coming with inherent power, the kingdom. Going into the authority. What's that kingdom looking like? The power, right? Again, going back to dunamis, him being cast down. So there was a lot of meat here. Hopefully this has been edifying. And until the next one, shalom.